And there it was, Jay-Z, Kanye West, and Will Smith were at a table. And of course they called me in because I was the only black person that worked there. I guess they thought we knew each other. But funny thing was, Will's sister was celebrating her birthday. And he was like, yo, you have a great energy. I reminded him of his mom because his mom was a single mom too that waited tables. And I was like, I'm just trying to like get into law school. So I had my daughter when I was 19 and I modeled for a while. I actually didn't start college until I was like, I don't know, 28.
Oh, wow.
Because my parents every morning were like, what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? So I finally started college, so they would shut up. So he got involved in like drugs.
Okay.
And they just like, the drugs just took him and he never came back to himself. And yeah, when you know someone that's an addict, it's like they're not even human anymore. In California growing up, I never really had any encounters about race. In New York, the first time we walked into this restaurant, Maria, and it was New Year's Eve, and it was my sister and I. And I remember distinctly everybody stopping to eat, you know? And like, you know, we're just for New Year's Eve, so it's like thirst trap central, you know? We're just, and everybody stopped. And that was the first time I literally felt like, not that I wasn't welcome, but the fact that everybody was wondering like, are they lost? What are they doing here? I think so. I think our leaders are modern day slavery. I think that's the one great thing about social media. Everybody's waking up, and unfortunately our leaders are the last ones to wake up. I believe in populist movements politically. That's important to me. Of course, to me right now the Republicans are trash. When I don't know, when I broke up with my daughter's father, I was like, how could the universe be so cruel? There can't be a God. I know, I cried every night. But yeah, it actually shook my faith because I was like, why do bad things happen?
Have you ever kissed a woman?
I've been pretty satisfied with dick all my life.
Okay. What are some of the important things for you in a relationship?
That they worship me. That's it. So when I found out I was pregnant, it was just like, I knew from the start, I was like, I'm having my baby. But all my friends just thought it was the craziest idea. And like, I remember they took me to like the abortion clinic 3 times and I'm like, no, I'm not gonna kill my baby. I was so obnoxious. Hi, my name is Teliza Adams. I am a lawyer practicing international tax law, but more importantly, I am Tabitha Smith's mommy. Hi, Tab.
In a world full of highs and lows, people go through lots of struggles. Some good days and some bad days. Some laughter and some sadness. Everyone deserves the chance to share their story in its purest and most authentic form. I travel the world to meet ordinary people and hear them speak their truths. Remember, we listen and we don't judge. These are their stories.
So we have Teliza with us today. I'm happy you're here.
Thank you.
How have you been?
I've been good. How have you been?
Pretty good. So you've always lived in New York?
No, I'm from California.
So talk to me about where you grew up.
I grew up in a small town in California. It's called California City, right off the Edwards Air Force Base in the middle of the Mojave Desert. When I grew up, I think the population was like 5,800. And when I left, the population was like, I don't know, maybe like 10 or 11,000. So it's a small town.
That's like 100 years ago.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, you know?
they say blacks don't crack.
Oh, yeah. You know, it's so funny.
No.
When I left, there was like a Holiday Inn coming to town, and it was like, oh, the sensation. So
Why did you move to New York?
So I didn't come to New York originally. I just wanted to get out of my small town, and I wanted to get out of California. I don't know why, because once I left, I wanted to go back. But my mom's originally from Philadelphia, so I moved to Philadelphia, and for college, I went to college, and then I decided I wanted to go to law school, and New York seemed like a viable option, so I went to New York.
Okay, which college did you go?
Also, I went to Temple University.
Okay, so talk to me about your experience while at Temple.
I had a different experience. Temple was a great school, but I had a daughter. I had my daughter when I was 19. And so when I was on campus, everybody was going to parties and stuff. And I had to go home, to my daughter. And I had her around me all the time. So, I was a party killer because there was like, we can't smoke, we can't drink because there's like a baby here, So, yeah.
Wow. So what year did you move to New York?
I moved to New York actually 2012, maybe. Yeah.
And so how's been your New York experience?
It's been pretty shitty for the most part,
Why are you still here then?
So my daughter's in college. I wanted her to go to grad school college in California, but she got full scholarship to NYU. So I said, okay, we're staying in New York for
You know
4
what I
years.
meant by blacks don't crack, right?
What?
How do you have a daughter?
Well, she's a junior now at NYU. Yeah. So yeah, she's on full scholarship. So I was like, okay, fine.
Wow.
We're staying in New York.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
After your college, your undergrad, you moved to New York.
No. So I stayed in Philly for about 8-9 years.
Okay.
I started a startup with my friends. It was going well till 2008. Then the whole economy fell out. And then, I started marketing for a private equity firm. And I always wanted to go to law school. And I came to New York because, oddly enough, when I got laid off, it's a funny story, actually. So when I got laid off, I had to start waiting tables part-time to pay the bills. And I was too embarrassed to show my face in Philly because, you come, you're doing all these great things. And it's just like, oh, you're serving me. And at that time, like my ego was like, through the roof. So I was sneaking to New York to wait tables. And I was waiting tables. And everybody's like, why are you waiting tables? You should do bottle service. No, first I started bartending. Then I noticed like the bottle service people, you didn't do anything.
Right.
And you got all this money. So I flipped into bottle service. And I did bottle service for exactly 2 months. And one of my tables was supposed to work that evening. And my boss called me. He said, can you come in the afternoon? And I was like, no, because who's working in the afternoon? He said, if you come in, I'll give you the night off. I said, fine. So I came in and there it was Jay-Z, Kanye West, and Will Smith were at a table. And of course they called me in because I was the only black person that worked there. I guess they thought we knew each other. So I came in, I waited on him. But funny thing was, Will's sister was celebrating her birthday. And he was like, yo, you have a great energy. I reminded him of his mom because his mom was a single mom too that waited tables. And I was like, I'm just trying to like get into law school. And he literally was like, oh, I'll have my people contact you. Maybe we'll put you on scholarship. So from that day that I met him, his manager, Jana, called me, called my job the next day, got my contact information. And from that, I ended up getting a full scholarship to law school.
Wow.
Yeah, him and Jada put me on scholarship.
That's amazing.
So bottle service, it works.
Absolutely.
Go for it.
Have you still been in touch with Jada and
Well, Jada and Will, like I said, it's kind of like they're my fairy godparents. Like they definitely, actually have. I remember like I was supposed to start law school in the fall, and he asked my daughter, like, do you ever travel? And she's like, no, my mommy works too much. And I'm like, really? She still calls me mommy. And he's like, yeah, write me where you want to go. And she wrote him this thing about how she wanted to go to Australia. And he sent like the whole family for 2 weeks to Australia. So it's kind of like, I mean, I'm not going to say we're best friends. I'm not invited to any christenings or baby showers, but they definitely look out. And they're just like really, there's this philosophy that when you reach a certain level of success, you can try to help people that are very impoverished, but it's hard because you're dealing with a lot of things. And like the people that are good, they don't need help, So they try to seek out people that would have had pretty good lives to begin with and just give them that extra backing to help them achieve their dreams.
That's quite amazing. So basically, your story is actually quite intriguing. Being in, college, you had a baby.
Yeah.
And usually when people do have a baby, they fall off the radar.
Well, here's what happened. So I had my daughter when I was 19 and I modeled for a while. Okay. I actually didn't start college until I was like, I don't know, 28.
Oh, wow.
Because my parents every morning were like, what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? So I finally started college. So they would shut up, and they did shut up for like 4 years. It was like nothing. They're like, oh, she's in college. So my parents, they're really big on education. My parents pushed me to finish school, but I started school like a lot later than most people. I was actually like 28. I was 32 32 when I graduated college.
So,
Yeah.
but when you were were you back in high school when you had your kid?
No, so I might as well been, huh? I had just graduated for 2 years, and I was like, modeling and yachting and just being like a 18, 19-year-old, just like vacationing all the time with like $2 in my pocket. It was fun. But then, I fell in love. I had my daughter. It didn't work out, obviously.
Was that really love though? Now that
I don't
you
know.
look back at it.
I still think it was with every fiber of my being. There was nothing in the world I ever wanted more, but it didn't work out. So
Why didn't it work out?
So he got involved in like drugs.
Okay.
And the drugs just took him and he never came back to himself. And yeah, when you know someone that's an addict, it's like they're not even human anymore. It's like a demon gets them and they forget, it robs them of their ability to give anything of value to anyone they love or care about, So yeah, that's why things don't work out. He loves something more.
So basically, you eventually went to college.
Yeah, eventually.
Finished college at the age of around 32.
Yeah.
Right. We're not going to reveal your age, but somehow we'll...
I'm 40.
So basically, you finished college and right after you went to law school?
No. So right after I finished college, I had a little savings and I started a startup with my friends, American Home Ownership Initiative. And, we were targeting working class neighborhoods because I grew up. I have 7, including me. There's 7 brothers and sisters, my mom and dad.
Okay.
So we targeted working class neighborhoods where you know what it is to work and you pay your bills on time, but you never can save money because there's always something. So we did working class neighborhoods. We went into apartments. We refurbished them. It was like I'm not going to get into it, but it was a whole thing. It went great. But once 2008 hit, they somehow thought that like working class people were the reason the market fell off, which it wasn't. There's actually people buying vacation homes, but everything went to hell. So we were, it's kind of like we were flying high for a minute and then, we came back to earth.
Okay. After you came back to earth,
Yeah.
then you decided to go to law school.
Yeah, because I never wanted to be a broke student. And then when I became broke again, I was like, well, might as well put student behind it. So I did.
Interesting. So, was it the law school that J&M funded or help
The law school.
scholarship for?
Yeah.
Okay. So, at what age were you in?
In law school, I was like, I don't know what, 35, 36.
Okay. So,
yeah.
So you were in law school for how long?
3 years.
3 years. And then after that?
So then after that, I somehow fell into international tax law. Like the law is easy to me for some reason. So I fell into international tax law, which I'm actually good at. And I've been in corporate hell ever since.
Corporate hell.
Yeah.
So you currently work for a corporation. What you do?
I work for a corporation. All my experience in law school was with the Harvard Criminal Justice Center defending. I worked with the U.S. Attorney's Office, but that was on the prosecution side because, I wanted to make a change socially. And at first it was defense. And I love that until you realize that you're defending like child molesters, So then I'm like, well, I'll make a change from the prosecution side because we need more equitable, sentencing.
Right.
And that didn't, criminal law is just really, really heavy stuff. You go home, you cry a lot. Everybody has a drinking problem. It is what it is. It's like it's emotionally heavy. So I decided to make the jump into international tax because it seemed like it's challenging. You can use your creativity, but at the end of the day, no one's going to jail for 80 years, So, yeah.
So talk to me about your 3 years in law school.
My 3 years in law school was... on one hand, it was fun because I love to be a student. And if my parents were rich, I would be a lifetime student. I would just literally keep re-enrolling in class. So I love that. The part, law school was actually good for the most part, but that was the first time I realized that like misogyny actually exists in the world and it's powerful, which you would think throughout my years I would have hit misogyny somewhere, but that was the first time like I was like, wow, misogyny is a real thing. So yeah, that was the most surprising thing, that people young people that you assume should be open-minded, have like very, very misogynistic. And also the fact that in law school, like I think out of my class, there weren't any black men that graduated, and maybe there was like 5 or 6 black women. So you look at, the criminal justice system, and when I say black, let's just say minorities, like no minority men, and maybe including all the minorities, maybe 12 females in a whole class of law. So it literally just, you understand what the problem is and where it can be addressed. And the fact that these people that didn't have any understanding of other cultures, other values, other anything. And these are going to be the future defenders, prosecutors, judges, maybe even president. I mean, not really. Nobody from law school is going to be president. But in theory, they might be president. So,
well, anybody could be president.
Nobody from my law school.
Nah.
And they're not even Donald Trump level, but go on.
Wow. Quite interesting. And so it's been about, let's see, 6 years since you've actually graduated?
Yeah.
From law school?
Yeah.
And you've been working in corporate health for?
Well, I've been working in corporate for, about 6 years. I mean, I jumped around with different things, but corporate for 6 years.
So tax law.
Yeah.
That you currently do. How long have you been doing that?
Oh, I've been doing that for like 3 years, international. So it's inbound U.S. taxation. We deal with multinational companies. We do mergers, acquisitions, corporate restructuring. We do compliance, of course, you have to when you're taxed. So we do everything. So basically, whenever people are looking to merge, to build, to start, we can't talk about our clients, but like the big multinational firms, we actually do it. And also we do nonprofit developmental organizations such as the UN, the International Monetary Fund, and stuff like that.
So you're no longer in the courtroom?
No, I'm not in the courtroom.
Did you miss that at all?
I did. I like the courtroom. It's the first, I feel like the law is for the people. And I feel like a lot of times people get disconnected from the law. As far as people on the other side, prosecutors, defenders, judges, so it's nice to actually have that interaction with normal people, because that's what the law is there to do.
So basically, with your experience as an attorney, how has that influenced your life as a woman? As a woman,
it's made me a formidable opponent when arguing with whoever I'm dating, I'm as a woman, actually, it's helped me a lot just to see through. Oddly enough, it's helped me a lot. And I hate to bring it back to misogyny because I don't view the world through that. And I mean, growing up, I guess I was always a feminist in theory, but now, and it's like I see the importance that we need to actually rally, because there are a lot of people that look at women as their half-ad, and even the more attractive a woman is, it works against them. So it's actually made me more aware of prejudicial thoughts. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, because life is what you see and what you make. Right. But sometimes life is actually right there. Right. So it's just made me aware of the need for, as women, we need to mobilize, get together, and like literally stop asking for rights, but demand our rights. And so,
What is your origin? What are you made of racially?
I'm Black, African American.
Okay.
Yeah.
How has it been for you? What does it mean to be African American or Black woman?
What does it mean? It means, here's the funny thing. So I grew up in this small town in California, and predominantly the town was white. And of course, there's like Latino and African American and whatnot, but there's not that many African American people in California. I actually grew up not seeing race at all. At all. It wasn't actually until we moved to New York that was the first time that I actually felt that somebody judged me because of my race. I felt, and in law school was the first time I felt judged because I was a woman. So when you say like, what does it mean? It means I'm just me. I grew up with 4 boys. It never occurred to me to shrink myself or be quiet or not like, we have meetings now where everyone's saying what they're saying. And I'll say one thing and everybody will ignore it. And then like a man will say it. And, it never occurred to me not to say, excuse me, I just said that. Hello? Like, I'll pull the conversation back. Like, are you guys listening to me? So it's kind of like growing up with 4 boys. It's like, it never occurred to me not to interject and not to make people pay attention. But as an African-American woman, you know, growing up now, I see that, you know, there's intersectional feminism. There's so many things, but I feel equal. I feel like now's the chance to teach the younger generation, like, not to ask for anything anymore, but just to demand it. You know, you never demand what your right is. You just take it. So
quite interesting. So, as you know, so you've been in New York for some time now. How do you think New York has influenced you?
I'd like to think it hasn't.
Really?
Why would
So
it?
you don't consider yourself a New Yorker?
No.
No?
Why would I?
Okay, so what do you consider yourself?
I'm from California.
Okay,
Yeah.
but you've been in New York for 5-6 years?
I could be here till I die. It's still not New Yorker.
Okay, so the only reason why we still have you in New York is because of your daughter.
No, I mean, don't get me wrong. New York has so much to offer. If you want to like learn to teach dolphins the hula dance, I'm sure there's some industry in New York. So New York has a lot to offer, but New York also is like, I don't know, this place, it's like, it's really, and I've had great experiences in New York. It's just really cold and like transient. And it's also like a really lonely
You mean temperature
city.
cold?
No, just like emotionally, it's cold and transient. You know, it's like when you travel overseas to like Bangladesh or Shanghai, the way there's so many people that like nobody puts any type of value on connecting with the common, because it's so many, you actually wish there were less humans, you know. And California is a big state, but everything's more spread out. So when you connect with someone, it's more about like, when I first came to New York, everybody wanted to know what school I went to and who my dad was and what my family does. You know, my friends in California, literally maybe 6 years into it, I'm like, oh, that was your, you know, you don't really care about where anybody comes from. You're just trying to connect with people and like build friendship. I mean, and even then I built genuine friendships in New York, but I just find it really cold, like emotionally, you know? Yeah.
Could it be because there's something that is inside of you that is not fulfilled?
Well, yeah, like New York doesn't have like, I've noticed that, you know, you go to New York and like you have your friends and you look at their Instagram accounts and like everything looks so amazing, but you're like, I was there at that party and it was so lame. It's like everyone's just like, everyone is like sitting, it's like on surface it looks amazing, but as far as like connecting with people, I don't think people really connect in New York and really see. And I was actually thinking about this a lot at work. When I'm not on eBay, I was thinking about it, and it's like a lot of people come to New York because they want to change their fate. They grow up somewhere and I mean, some people come because of work. Some people just come because of their boyfriends or girlfriends and they wind up here. They're like, oh, fine. But there are a lot of people that come to New York and they're not happy where they grow up. So they come to New York because they want to reinvent themselves, you know? So you're dealing with like a subsection of people that for whatever reasons might have emotional issues, might have whatever, you know, they've experienced different things and everybody still has to grow up. So you're dealing with people that, I don't know, it's a different vibe. And I don't mean to say that negatively because like, I mean, I have issues, you know. I never look down on someone because like they're going through something emotionally or things to work out. But yeah, New York's I don't know, I think I want to live someplace and grow old someplace where people are content in who they are and what they want.
So you have traveled, correct?
Yeah.
So where are some places you've traveled to?
Like, I mean, I lived in Barcelona, Germany, Italy, Mallorca, Southeast Asia, of course, California. I haven't traveled around America that much, actually. That's my goal this year, to actually discover where I grew up.
So when you do travel, or while in New York or California or wherever, do you often have people ask you or say you have an accent?
That's only happened to me on the East Coast.
On the East Coast?
Yeah.
And how do you feel when you've been asked, oh, you have an accent, where are you from?
Usually, it's oddly enough, older white people will be like, you have an accent, where are you from? Or they'll give me a compliment and tell me I speak so well. And I'm like, wow, you know? Or they'll be like, what are you? And I'm like, I'm Black. And they're like, oh, but you're so pretty. And I'm like, wow. So it's usually older people. I guess they have like certain ideas and images, and if you're outside of the box, then it throws them off a little bit.
Wow. That's quite interesting. How has your family influenced you growing up?
I mean, they've influenced me completely. I look at my mom and dad, and I think like I never stood a chance. So
Are they still together?
yeah, of course,
Oh, wow.
they're still together.
How
Like
long now?
Jesus, like wow, I guess going on 50 years.
That's amazing.
Yeah, they love each other dearly.
What's your number in terms of?
I'm second to oldest.
Oh, second.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're all like a year and a half apart. So they're still, my family's influenced me a lot, but I love my family. They love me. We're close knit. Yeah.
So that's interesting. So basically, you just said that you look at your parents and you're like, wow, you never know. So, have you given your chance to any relationships after your daughter's father?
Not really.
Why not?
I don't know. Everything pales in comparison, you know? Yeah.
So, ever since for over 20 years now, you haven't really, well, let me ask this way. What other relationships have you been in?
I mean, don't get me wrong. I hope nobody watches this. I mean, I've dated people, but like my daughter, she's like a jealous lover. Like she's number one, even with my friends. And like, yeah, I just never, no one's ever captured my heart since then, you know? I mean, I did say I have emotional problems, so I guess that's one of them.
So, do you think that it's your fault that you're not in any type of relationship or you don't give a chance for possibilities?
I mean, probably, but I mean, like my dad tells me, nobody dies alone. Like a relationship happens when it happens. You know, it's like, you know, there's two things like you don't have to worry about: death and like a relationship. So, you know, it'll come.
So, what's the longest relationship you've been in?
Oh, like 4.5 years. No, outside of my daughter's father, 4.5 years.
Okay. So, with your daughter's father, how long?
5.
5.
5 years.
5 years.
Yeah.
Why'd you laugh?
Because I'm like 4.5 years. I was like, apparently that's my peak when I'm like, okay.
What are some of the struggles you've had growing up?
Well, I mean, when we grew up, my dad was still trying to get through school, and we were like incredibly impoverished. Like my parents fell in love. My mom dropped out of college to start a family with my dad. My dad was washing dishes in University of Penn's, what do you call it? Cafeteria to like make ends meet. Wow. And they fell in love. And like she dropped out of school, and the rest was history. So we grew up extremely poor. Like literally, I remember my dad was working at he was a used car salesman. He was working at like a Stop and Shop. So we grew up extremely poor. And as, of course, we got older, my dad, you know, graduated school. We all started working. It's a good thing about having a bunch of children, you know. We all started working as soon as we could. But we grew up extremely poor. So I know what it is to like actually really struggle. Like I remember days where like my dad would get paid every Wednesday, and by like Monday, all the food will run out in the house, you know? Mm-hmm. So I remember things being really tough, but we survived, and it gives you character. So
you now, basically with your siblings, there's about 7 of you.
Yeah.
You know, you're an attorney.
Yeah.
What are the other?
So my one brother's a chef. My other brother, he's a chemist. My other brother does information technology, cybersecurity. My one brother, he's autistic, but he works in accounting. I got him a job where I work at in our administrative department of accounting. My baby sister, she's in school for pre-med. And my other baby sister, the youngest one, she's marketing advertising. She's a junior at Boston University, and she's in marketing advertising.
How young is the youngest?
She's like a year and a half older than my daughter.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your hobbies. Like, okay. What do you do when you're not working?
I set thirst traps. What do I do? When I'm not working, I really concentrate on my daughter. I like the arts. Of course, who doesn't? I'm human. I like arts. I love cooking. I like being outdoors. I mean, I like stuff that everybody else likes. Yeah, but mostly concentrating on my daughter, making sure that she's still good.
Okay, so you would say that your daughter is one of your main priorities right now.
She's like the only priority right now.
Only priority.
You know?
Okay. So would you be able to, let's say, a man falls into your lap, or a woman, or whatever for that matter, would you be able to balance that with your daughter being a priority?
Well, yeah, because they make her a priority too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. You grew up listening to music, I assume.
Yes.
What kind of music did you?
Like NWA, Snoop, Scissor, who was it? Souls of Mischief, E40, The Cure, Depeche Mode, Pet Shop Boys, you know, like the whole California. You know, you love melancholy and 80s music, but then you love like hardcore, you know, South Compton. So
Interesting. Give me like what's one of your favorite, you know, lyrics or something from any of the artists,
one of my favorite
or
lyrics.
songs or whatever.
Oh,
Any that spoke to you or that you grew on? Any that?
What's that one, Tupac? It's all about you.
Okay.
You know,
So-
probably crooked as a last bitch. Want to laugh about how I got caught up with a bad chick, thinking I had her, but she had me in the long run. It's just my luck. I'm stuck getting caught up with the wrong one.
Okay, we taking it back.
That's one of the most epic intros. When it's like do do do. Yeah, when it comes on.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool. So now, what kind of music do you listen to?
Same shit.
Same.
Shit. Yeah.
None of this new.
No, I listen to the new stuff. Like I love Princess Nokia.
Okay.
You know, I love Scissor. I love like you know, that's the thing. I have a 20-year-old daughter, so it's like she's always
Right.
bringing new stuff to the house.
She's kind of like.
She's my curator of music. She's like, have you heard this? Have you heard this? Have you heard this? So yeah.
She's helping you discover some new stuff.
All the time.
So, trivial question. I like to ask my guests things that they should know.
Okay.
But usually they probably don't. Okay. But it's fun. So we'll try, you know. But we all know we don't know everything. So,
Okay.
right. But I'll give you the easy ones.
Okay.
What is another word for lexicon?
A lexicon? I don't know. Lexi's what? 5? Is it lexicon? An octagon? Anyway, I'm just making up shit. Move on. Next question.
Dictionary.
Is it?
Yes.
That was my second guess. Go on.
Okay. So usually we find ourselves, you know, stating time because time is very important, and we say we'll see in the AM or we'll see in the PM.
Yeah.
What does AM mean?
After morning?
Okay. Well, AM though,
AM.
not PM.
After midnight.
Nope. How about PM?
Post midnight.
Okay. You got the post right.
Post meridian time. After meridian time. There we go.
So post meridian.
Shout out to California's little sister.
But the AM you still didn't get it right.
After meridian time. Almost meridian time.
Ante. Right.
Ante meridian time.
So that's
Okay.
Latin. Okay. That's
Latin. Yes, my second language.
good.
Girl.
So you know Wales, right? Wales. That-
Wales, London?
Wales, right? Wales.
Oh, Wales, like the orca. Yeah.
Okay. What is the name of the penis of a whale?
The penis? You
Correct.
pervert. Why would you know that? Sir, how dare you? I'm a respectable woman.
Oh my god.
It's called the penis of a whale. They actually named it
Yeah.
Whale Dick.
Well, Dick.
What's the name?
Dork.
A dork?
Yes.
Oh, is that where that dork thing is from? Like you're a dork?
Absolutely.
Wow.
Well,
To call my boss that. Like, you dork. Take over the new name. I'll just giggle to myself.
that's-
Dork. Oh, that's where it comes from.
So, what's the most commonly spoken language around the world?
Common? I don't know. Common. Mandarin Chinese?
That's great.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. You got that.
Okay.
All right. So, we'll move right on to Summers because you got one right.
So all you need is one.
All in this one. Absolutely. So, Gentrification.
Yeah.
What comes to mind when you hear the word gentrification, and how has that affected you in any way?
I mean, I would like it to affect me. Like to be able to afford a gentrified neighborhood. No, what does that come to mind? It just doesn't really affect me. I came to New York later, but everybody had talked, when I first came, I lived in Park Slope, Brooklyn. And everybody told me like, oh, 5 years ago, this neighborhood didn't look like this. And now I'm on the Upper East Side, you know, but I'm at 93rd and 3rd, like right at the cusp of it. So I think I came in after gentrification. Everybody tells me New York used to be a different place. Brooklyn used to be a different place. And now it's not, you know. I feel like gentrification is pushing all the culture and like the fun out of it, you know. But yeah.
So do you think it's a good thing or a bad thing?
So funny thing, I was reading this article where they said that in gentrified neighborhoods, the police are called a lot because people will be like fixing their car, bringing stuff in, checking their mail, and their new neighbors will call because they think that people look suspicious doing stuff. And cops literally have a joke that in a gentrified neighborhood, you'll get 100 calls when they come out there, somebody's just chilling. So like gentrification, which might actually be of worth speaking about in the Trump era, is the fact that it literally talks about like people's subversive interest in race. You know, you look at Williamsburg, most of Williamsburg voted for Trump, you know? So with gentrification, it's literally like people that want the experience, but they're not necessarily meshing with the culture. And I'm African-American, so I know that happens in African-American neighborhoods, but a lot of my friends that are Latino, that are Indian, that whatnot, they have like the same issue. You know, people come in and they want the experience, but they don't really want to absorb culture. So gentrification, it's like, I've never actually been in a situation where somebody comes and takes over my neighborhood and everybody has to leave. I'm sure that's different. So I talk on the point of like, I'm literally trying to get a place I can afford in a gentrified neighborhood, you know?
So have you ever been to Harlem?
No, not my life. Of course, I've been to Harlem. Yeah.
What do you remember about Harlem, or what are some of the places you go when you go to Harlem?
So I've been to this place called, I don't remember any place. I'm bad with whatever, but I've been to, on Frederick Douglass Avenue, I've been to a lot of places. Okay. You know, I love Harlem. You know, I really honestly wish that there was more transportation out there because that's why I moved close to. But Harlem's great. It's like I'm around my people. I feel at home. I understand everything, everybody that's going on. It's really, really good, you know? But the trains don't run too well outside of Harlem. And I was talking to someone that actually worked for the MTA. And the reason what that is back then they didn't want people from Harlem and from Brooklyn coming into New York. So that's why there's like the trains run few and far between all this. It was actually by design, not by accident. But yeah, I really love Harlem.
Right. Would you live there?
Of course. If I could find someplace next to the train. I don't like a 30-minute walk to the train and then like 30 minutes into the city.
Well, but Harlem is pretty transportation, you know, I mean,
but all the places that are by the trains, like nobody's moving from there, you know? So if you find a place, it's like, you know, a 20-minute walk. Yeah.
I wouldn't say 20 minutes, but okay.
Listen, it takes me 14 minutes to get to work, you know? And even then, I'm pushing it. So I literally need to be 3 minutes away from the train.
Where do you live on 93 and
I work at 51st.
And then it takes you 45 minutes?
No, it takes me like 14 minutes.
Oh, 14 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So to add to that commute is a big hardship.
Okay. So are you where you want to be in life right now?
No, of course not.
Okay. What is lacking?
I mean, I'd like something more creative, something more fun. I like to have more money in my bank account. I like my family to be set. I like my parents to be able to retire. I mean, come on. I can just keep going down.
What are you doing to make that change or to really make those happen?
Well, I got in touch with an old friend who has tremendous style. And I said, do you know anybody that's an actor? And he said, I'll look into it. I can introduce you to a few people. So I'm hoping that this person actually keeps their word.
Okay.
And introduces me.
So you're actually now trying to get into creatives.
Into the creatives, because that's the thing. I've always been blessed that as long as I get the direction, I can find my own way. So I'm getting into the creatives now. And, you know, I'm taking one kind of like community acting class. But I figure once I'm around creatives, I'll know which way to go.
Why acting, though?
Because acting seems like the easiest way to get into many different ventures. You know, if you're good at it, great. But if not, you can get into writing, production. You meet other creatives. And I really feel like energy feeds off of other energy.
That is
you
true.
know? Yeah. So
That is true.
just trying to get myself in that area to feed off of energy.
So if we could pick or pinpoint some of your other talents, what would you say they are?
Well, some can't be spoken about, but
Well,
the ones that can. The ones that can.
well, you could tell me,
I don't want you blushing on camera. But I mean, my talents are, I'm very creative. I think outside the box, I have a very quick mind. And, I have a gift for writing comedy, at least. I mean, people can differ about whether they think I'm actually funny, but I have a gift. I know my gifts lie in creative, and my gifts lie in feeding off of this energy that surrounds me, which you usually don't find in the corporate field.
So 5-10 years from now, which would I be assuming correctly that you will be out of corporate?
I'll definitely be out of corporate. Definitely. Even if I make the jump back into criminal law, I'll definitely be out of corporate.
Interesting. So, in terms of race, as a Black woman, what has been some of your encounters racially?
Racially? What do you mean?
Oh, racial encounters. We live in America, and there's a lot of bigotry. There's a lot of, racial encounters and so on.
So
Have you?
In California growing up, I never really had any encounters about race. In New York, I mean, the first time we walked into this restaurant, Maria, and it was New Year's Eve, and it was my sister and I. And I remember distinctly everybody stopping to eat, and we're just for New Year's Eve. So it's like thirst trap central, we're just, and everybody stopped. And that was the first time I literally felt like, not that I wasn't welcome, but the fact everybody was wondering, like, are they lost? What are they doing here? As far as race, I've been blessed because I am a woman and people find me pretty. I haven't really had too much experience. I will say since Trump got elected, I've seen things, and I was walking down the street talking on my phone on the Upper East Side, and this old man came and told me, walked across the street to tell me to keep it down. Like, I felt like I've encountered this thing where they feel like you're visiting and you have to be on your P's and Q's.
Right.
Oh, you know what? Let me take back everything I said. Do you know where I've had encounters with race? Since I moved to the Upper East Side, this is the second place I've lived at. All my neighbors have had. The first place I moved to, because I was traveling a lot for work, and she automatically assumed I was like a party girl coming in at 4 a.m. And they've had a problem with me. And then the second place I moved to, I talked to neighbors and they're like, we're 4 professional women. And the way she said it was like, I'm a professional too. Like, what are you trying to say? I mean, and even if my sister and I were strippers, so what? It's like, so oddly enough, I've actually felt it in my neighbors where I live, where they have a problem. We do something. And which was so foreign to the way I'm thinking, because I'm used to growing up in California where it's so chill. There's no race. There's no anything. If anything, it's classism as far as how much money you have and who your parents are. But the fact that there's certain things we can do and certain things that we can't do. And the fact that even people feel entitled to talk to us like we're children and set these weird rules and boundaries that nobody has to deal with. So that's actually been my experience with race in New York. Where I live, it's been a problem.
Okay, so why do you think Black people feel so victimized?
I don't think Black people feel victimized.
Okay, so every day we hear of a lot of these
Well, here's the thing. I'm a woman, and as a woman, this is the thing. As a woman, I'm sure there's so many things heaped on me that's just a part of my being that I don't see it or I don't feel it. So if somebody says they've been through something, I don't doubt them. I'm just like, maybe I just don't even know it. But I have 4 brothers, and one of them's autistic. And I notice even walking down the street, how nervous people get, the way people will walk across the street, the way people will act around him, the way people will act around my brothers, the way if my brother's driving, he'll get pulled over, and the way. So it's kind of I don't necessarily think it's victimization. I actually think it's happening, and you look at Philando Castile, like, yeah. And especially being from the legal system, it's a different view. I don't think it's victimization. I think it's actually happening, you know? And it's like, you're obviously attractive, right? So if you talk to a guy that's just like, well, depending on who you ask. Certain people may disagree, but it's like if you ask someone like, what was your experience growing up as like an ugly person nobody would talk to? You're like, oh, well, people are not, well, that's a bad example. Because I was an ugly duckling. So I know what that feels like too.
Oh, you were once an ugly duckling?
So I know what that feels like too. But
Oh, man.
yeah, but you know what I'm saying? It's kind of like people like don't like, they don't, you can't expect other people to know your pain. And I do feel like that's the one thing that's wrong with the African American experience. We spend too much time explaining. We spend too much time trying to make it real to someone that's never going to understand. What is it like to be an African American male? I know what I see from my brothers, but do I really know every day? No, but I know what it is to be a woman. So I feel like it's not the victimization you talk about. I really think as a people, we need to stop asking, stop pleading, stop trying to make people understand, and just like demand what our worth is,
So statistically, almost every day, a black man, woman also, but usually black man, uh, you know, we hear in the news, they're shot dead,
Yeah.
or something of that sort. Why do you think that's happening?
I think honestly, it's happening because, I actually wrote a thesis paper about this. In America, the number one export we have, which is why we're so prominent overseas, is our culture. We export culture. And, people talk about film, media, whatever. And people say it doesn't play a difference, but it does play a role. I think that there is something where, of course, you have like the racist person that's like driving around with like their KKK hooded. That's somebody that's completely different. But there are a lot of people that have grown up with images where Black people, especially African American males, have been demonized. They've been this, they've been that. They're always the aggressor. So when they approach them, and I see it with my brothers, when they approach them, they come with that in their mind. So you think like, oh, it's crazy. How could you look at that as an aggression? And they see just the fact of you existing as an aggression. Is it right? No. Does it need to change? Yes. Does the law need to start coming down harder on people? Because it is ignorance. It's willful ignorance. The fact that you can look at another human being that's just sitting there with groceries in the back and his wife and his daughter and see him as dark. It's willful ignorance, which is the most dangerous type of ignorance. So on that, I see how people can have that idea, but I also see how the legal system has failed everybody by allowing them to have that idea. It's the same way in the 1940s or 50s where if you caught your wife in bed with another man or woman, you could kill her and you'll probably get off on manslaughter. They called it a crime of passion. It only was through years and years where it said you don't have the right to kill someone because your feelings are hurt. The people literally crimes of passion went down. So I feel like the legal system, we need to get in there and demand that, it's like that is what you were thinking, and I see, but that's still not a valid excuse for killing somebody in cold blood.
Do you think that Black was still in modern day slavery?
I definitely think so. I think our leaders are modern day slavery. I think that's the one great thing about social media. Everybody's waking up, and unfortunately our leaders are the last ones to wake up. But whenever it comes to politics, people are talking about legacy and policy and money, and there's so much. They're the last to change. But yeah, I think our leaders are modern day slavery.
Why do you think that we have women in our society that feels not being treated equally?
Because we're not paid as much. We're paid 75 cents on a dollar if we're lucky. There's a lot of, you look what's happening now with our current president. There's just a lot of misogyny where they're deciding on women's issues and there's no women in the room. The sad part about it is, a patriarchal society does protect some, but not all. And I think even maybe some women are comfortable with the fact of letting people control, and other people might not be comfortable. But I don't know. I'm still trying to figure out how somebody could voluntarily be treated as less than.
Do
you know?
do you believe in gender roles?
Gender roles?
Yes.
I believe in gender roles. My mom and dad have gender roles, but that doesn't mean that like she's not equal and her voice doesn't have just as valid as opinion as my dad. It's literally like going to work. You may be a doctor, I may be a lawyer, but our opinions still had the same weight, you know? Just because my mom stayed home and raised us doesn't mean that like she doesn't get just as much stay. So even with gender roles, I still don't see how that works into like a patriarchal society where women aren't treated as equal.
So, what are your ideology of a man, and what is a man to have a role in?
Well, I mean, men are trash. Never forget. No, men have their role. It's like, here's the thing. When you look at gender roles, like I grew up with my mom and dad, and they really vibed off of each other. You know, where my mom was strong, my dad was weak. And when my dad was strong, my mom was weak.
Has
So
there
when
ever been any time they're both strong?
every night when we eat dinner. But at the same time, it's like you have that mutual respect, because I feel like when you don't see the person as an equal, that's when everything comes in. My mom and dad argue like cats and dogs, but they still see each other as equals, you know? To the outside, like, I mean, don't get me wrong, there's still societal, like, you know, I always remember like we'd be out and my dad would do something. My mom would get so mad, but she would just play it cool. You know, we'd get in the car and be like, okay, good night. And as soon as we turned around the corner, like all hell would break loose. So, you know, it's like my mom respected my dad respected my mom. But like I said, they still saw each other as equals. That's why it's so weird to see where it's like gender roles and norms where you look at excuses to devalue people. So, yeah.
What are some of your expectations as a woman? A man takes you out. What are some of the things that you expect from
Expect
a man?
them to kiss my feet, tell me I'm beautiful. Let's see what else. No, I expect him to like not. Are you talking about the first date or in like a relationship?
Well, let's talk
For the
about
first date, it's like
let's talk about the first, and then we talk about
the first date. Don't be a creep, and that's it. I mean, like you just.
Do you expect him to pay on the first day?
Why wouldn't he?
Okay, so I want to hear about
Yes, I expect a man to pay on the first date.
Okay.
But that's a very California thing. Like, I've noticed in New York, I mean, in California, if somebody pays, that's like the death knell. You know, it's like you are in complete friend zone. It's like, it's not the point of the actual money. It's the point of like you're trying to court someone and try to do something nice for someone. So, I mean, in California, it's not really an issue over who pays or who doesn't pay. It's just expected the man will pay. The woman like smiles and sparkling conversation. I mean, as the relationship progresses, everything becomes like equal. But in the beginning, that's just weird for like a woman to pay. Okay. I don't believe in that at all. Okay. At all. If anyone's listening, I will not be pulling out my credit card.
Has there been a time where you actually went on dating pay? Or demanded that you pay, or you equally shared?
Yeah, when I was trying to friend zone them.
Oh,
I pulled my card out very quickly. Like,
so wait.
I'll take the check.
So wait. so let me get this. At any point, you're on a date, or can I assume that any woman on a date with a man the first time, or you don't even know? I mean, in New York, it's more or less like, hey, let's hang out, let's have a.
They're either friend zoning you or they're stupid. I don't know which one.
Really?
It is. Yeah.
So if a woman pulls out the card,
they're friend zoning you.
You
Have
should
you
run
been
the
friend
other way.
zoned? Did this just happen to you? Have you been friend zoned? You've been friend zoned and you don't even know it. This is so sad.
Well, I usually pay.
Okay,
I'm
usually, but
African. So
yeah, so you know.
it's part of
Then
my.
why are you asking
culture.
me this? You know how things.
I need to know your perspective.
Yeah.
You know.
It's like if a woman invites you over to her house for dinner and she's like, "Where's the food?" You'd be like, "Wait, what?" Like you invited me.
That's funny.
It's like that whole thing. There's just certain things you expect.
Absolutely.
You know?
What is important to you politically?
Politically, I believe in populist movements. Politically, that's important to me. Of course, to me right now, the Republicans are trash. Even though I grew up in California and like I was raised Republican, but back then, Republican just meant you wanted the government out of your business. You know, it's not this perversion of what the Republican party is. Democrats, I've lost faith in them. I literally believe in like a populist movement. I think that the actual working man, the working class that I grew up in has no representation, and we definitely need representation.
Are you a Republican or Democrat now?
And right now, I'm neither. I was a Republican growing up most of my life till they got hijacked by the religious right. The Democrat, of course, but then they're trash too. So now I'm moving to more independent. But I'm hoping that after this defeat that we had in the last presidential election, I'm hoping that there are more Democrats that spring forth that are more about the populist movement.
Obviously, you don't support the current president.
Well, no.
Okay. What are some of the things that the administration is doing that you oppose or that you like?
The biggest thing, because politicians can be trash, but the biggest thing I oppose is, besides the obvious of him, the Russia connection, I think that's the biggest threat. But if I talk about day to day, the fact that like he's filling his administration, even Jeff Sessions comes from anybody in the Justice Department knows he comes from a long history of Klansmen. He has like one of the biggest neo-Nazis that supported in the Ukraine. Like he has a lot of, they call it alt-right, but he has a lot of deep racist people that come from a line of racist people. They're trying to, like, when he talks about Make America Great Again, I really feel like he's trying to pull it back to the 1940s and 50s. So that's what disturbs me most, the fact that there's intolerance, like, rising up, and his supporters are so much behind it.
So as far as healthcare or, any of his political agendas, any of them stood out to you that you actually support?
Healthcare that I support,
Yeah.
I don't support any of his agendas. With healthcare, he's planning to cut $1 trillion from Medicaid in the next 10 years. You know, Republicans from 2008 on up decided that they were going to starve the belly of the beast, where it's like, fine, we can't get rid of all these programs, but let's just defund them and they'll go away. They're going to extract $1 trillion from Medicaid. They want to cut all Planned Parenthood. I mean, now that I'm a lawyer, I actually have healthcare, but there was a time where Planned Parenthood was the only place I could go to actually get like healthcare as a woman. So currently there's nothing on his agenda that I support, you know, but I don't know.
Do you believe in God?
Sometimes.
Why sometimes?
So when I don't know, when I broke up with my daughter's father, I was like, how could the universe be so cruel? There can't be a God. I know, I cried every night. But yeah, it actually shook my faith, because I was like, why do bad things happen? So, I mean, do I believe there's a God? There has to be a reason for this. You know, we can't just be floating aimlessly. Do I think that there's a God that actually cares? No. You know, it's like when you see ants crawling.
What's your concept of God, if any at all?
My concept of God is a creator, you know, and maybe a divine guiding light, but that's if he takes interest in you. I just don't, I mean, my approach to God is very nihilistic. You know, I've read a lot of Nietzsche. I just don't, maybe there's a God, I just don't think he's listening.
Do you pray?
When I'm about to get in trouble all the time.
Then who do you pray to if he's not
Please,
listening?
God, I'll tell you, my God. Dearest God, I promise I'll be good moving forward. I promise. But I'll tell you a story. It's like my cousin. I love her to death. And she like called me and she's like, oh my God, I'm going to hell. This is a little crash, but she's like, I'm going to hell, this and that, blah, blah. And I was like, I'll bleep her name out. Bleep, bleep, bleep. Like God takes like newborn babies from their mother's arms, you know? They take, you know, he kills villages because he has to in like a swoop, and he sees a bigger bat. Do you really think he cares about whose dick you sucked last night? Like, can we just be real? Like, God does not care. So like, that's my version of God. Like, like all this whole thing we have in morality, I'm like, I mean, maybe killing, he'll be like, okay, that's too much. But all this other stuff, I'm like, God doesn't care. He's like, live your life, try to best you can. He doesn't have time to judge. I think that's a very human construct of organized religion, judging people for what they do. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So
rights and freedom. Do you think you're free?
No.
What does freedom mean to you?
Freedom means like I'm very like post-neo feminism. Freedom is having the ability to do whatever you want, whenever you want. You know, and as a feminist, you know, I can say, oh, men have that right. But then I look at my brothers and I'm like, well, they don't really have that right either. But that's freedom, being able to do what you want when you want to do it. And as long as you're not harming anybody else, it's like live and let live.
At what point do you think that freedom is hurtful to society?
When you're hurting someone else, You know, I mean, when you're hurting someone else, I think that it's hurtful to society, but it's a moving target.
Okay, rights. You know, human rights. Let's talk about, LGBTQ.
Yeah.
Are you gay?
Not that I know of.
Are you straight?
I believe so.
Are you curious?
Are you going to bring me a test? I don't know.
I mean, since I've been
I'm curious. I have not had temptation as of yet.
Are you bi-curious at all?
No.
No?
No.
Have you ever kissed a woman?
I've been pretty satisfied with dick all my life.
Okay.
No.
All right. Well, that's good to know. I just, I'm very curious, so it's always good to ask questions.
I mean, nothing wrong with it. I think it's fantastic, but no, I've never been tempted.
Okay. How has LGBTQ community or LGBTQ rights affected you?
I mean, they haven't affected me really. I know they try to make a correlation between like African American rights and whatnot. I think it's a little bit different because if you're LBGT, you can hide it if you want to. But that said, I don't understand why everybody cares so much. Like, if you want to marry, if you want to like love who you want to love, marry. I don't understand why in this day and age it's such an issue. And where I grew up in California is pretty liberal. So I don't. There's the word I'm looking for. It's pretty liberal, so it was never really an issue growing up either. You know, it's like saying somebody likes cats or dogs. Like, who cares?
Right.
Yeah.
Do you think that it helps our society for, citizens or humanity to get every right and freedom where they could do anything they want, however they want it, at any time, at any point? At what point do we feel that is detrimental?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I established boundaries with like anything dealing with a child, anything dealing with violence. Those are my boundaries. As far as society, I honestly think some people just have a hate gene. And oddly enough, people that have a hate gene like to go to church. I don't know why. But when you're saying like what's detrimental, I feel like people use these arbitrary measures as a way to express the hate that they have in their hearts. But like I said, as long as you're not messing with a child, as long as you're not forcing someone, as long as you're not, violently assaulting someone, I'm like, live and let live. I literally don't care what your sex life is.
Okay. What are some of the important things for you in a relationship?
That they worship me. That's it.
Really?
No, you want somebody that's like, I mean, in a relationship, it's like everybody has their list. And, I have my list.
What are the three important, things that matters to you?
I mean, you have to be honest, you have to be loyal, and you have to protect. That's it.
How important is sex in your relationship?
Well, I know when we're not having it, it ends. I don't, I mean, what do you mean?
Well, how important is sex? How often do you indulge in it?
When I'm in a relationship?
When you're in a relationship.
It's often as I can.
As often as
Is anybody that's like, no, I do not want more ice cream? Like what? Who?
Give me like when you're in a relationship, you got a man. What are some of your demands? Knowing that what, I gotta have it as much 3 times a week, 4 times a day. What do you want? Like what is yours?
I mean, I would assume if I'm in a relationship, you want it as much as you can get it. I mean, what?
Okay.
Is anybody's going to be like, no, I don't want it?
So you don't? Well, some people don't.
Oh, well, then they don't like it. And that's like the problem.
Okay. So how do you...
There's no such thing as a woman that doesn't like sex. There's such a thing as a man who's bad at sex. Okay. But,
Okay.
Yeah.
So how do you, on a general level or even on a sexual level, how do you please your man?
Next question.
Move
on.
Oh.
Move on.
Even on a general, on a general level, how do you?
Do. Move on. Next question.
You don't want to answer that. Okay.
Next question.
We'll keep that. So now, what's the craziest thing you've ever done in your relationship?
Next question.
Come on.
Next question.
Okay. What's been your fault in your relationships?
I have none. Next question.
Why? Why are you skipping all this? What's wrong with you?
What do you mean what's been my fault? Well, my fault has been loving too much.
Okay.
Next question.
So basically you're telling me that in any of your relationships, you've never been at any fault whatsoever.
You tell no lies. Next question. I've never been at fault in any of my relationships.
Okay. So tell me some about his faults or any of.
I mean, where do we start? I mean, he was born. He lived. No. What was the faults? It's like in relationships, I've always taken a pragmatic view to relationships. It literally is, it's timing. You have to find someone that's looking for the same thing you are. But I honestly feel like depending on where a person is, they connect with someone that's at the same point in their lives. The problem is, in my life, I've always been growing and evolving. Like I had my daughter young. I did a backwards way life. So it's like I was evolving more than the average person. So that would be my fault. The fact that maybe I evolved too much, where the person they got involved with wasn't the person that they were in a relationship with like 2 years later. And the same thing with the guy. Like I said, I think any two people can make a relationship work as long as they're honest about what they want.
Okay.
Who
inspires you?
My mom and dad inspire me. And my daughter inspires me, actually.
So these are people who've always inspired you throughout your life. And
yeah, my daughter inspires me to be a better person and to be hungry and ambitious. And she inspires me with her ambition. Okay. The way she feels like you can't waste a minute. There's always an opportunity. She wrote this cover letter when she was like, so now when she was trying to get her internship to Nylon, she's like, so now I come to you with the experiences only a 20-year-old has. But then the next sentence was, but I come to you hungry, like only a 20-year-old can be. Like my daughter reminds me, like as we get older, we have our ambitions, but I got comfortable on the level of effort. But when I'm around my daughter, she reminds me of what it is to be 20 and hungry and like, I'll do whatever. It doesn't matter. I'll work 30 hours a day. I don't care. That hungriness to just eat up everything you can because you think life is passing by you. So yeah, my daughter inspires me a lot just to like remember that like every minute counts and to go for what you can.
Do you think you're perfect?
Well, no.
What are some of your flaws?
I mean, some of my flaws, I'm never on time. I'm never on time. And like, I'm too California with things. I'm like, who cares? It's fine. Nobody died. We're fine. Like as long as nobody died, I consider it a success.
Okay.
So yeah.
Where you are in your life, are you happy?
No.
What is happiness?
Happiness is being content with where you are and what you have.
Okay. So what will get you there?
Making sure that my daughter and my family is secure and where they want to be.
Yeah. Where's your life headed?
Someplace good. Fingers crossed.
Someplace good.
Yeah.
Can you help us envision where that place is?
Someplace more creative where I can be more myself. Someplace where I can support everybody that I need to support and give everything, but find some type of fulfillment.
Any regrets in your life so far? Or if you could change anything, what would you change?
If I could change anything?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's such a good question. I don't know. I mean, there's little things on the surface. I'm like, oh, I want to be my daughter's father. I want to do this and that. But like, honestly, everything that happened made me into the person I am. That sounds so corny, but it literally did make me into who I am. And it made my daughter into who she was. So would I change anything? I don't know.
What's the most experience that has taught you so much about life?
Having a child.
Okay.
Yeah.
What has it taught you?
It taught me, it's still teaching me that, it's not teaching me anything, but like having a child gave me security. Like I notice people around my age when they're like pushing for like to find a relationship or they think they're going to find something. And this is from a woman's perspective. I don't know what men think. But actually a lot of my guy friends, like you're trying to find your better half. You're trying to find something more. Like there was something in all my life where I came home and like my love was waiting for me. And I had somebody that supported me, that saw me in my worst, saw me at my weakest, saw me at my best, and saw me at my strongest. And they loved me the same. Like I received unconditional love from her. And I think that was such a gift. So yeah, having a daughter, like really.
So what would you say is the biggest risk you have taken?
Having my daughter.
So having a
I was young and I was modeling and I was like, guess what, everyone? I'm pregnant. And apparently everyone thought I was set.
Was it planned?
No. I was even on birth control. It wasn't planned, but and the fact that I was so responsible back then, all my friends were like, haha, you're going to be a mom.
So
and
you
I'm
would
like,
consider
yeah.
that a mistake, but at the same time,
It
what's the
wasn't a
risk?
mistake. It was the fact my parents, they don't believe in abortion, and that's the way they raised me. So when I found out I was pregnant, it was just like, I knew from the start, I was like, I'm having my baby. But all my friends just thought it was the craziest idea. And like, I remember they took me to like the abortion clinic 3 times, and I'm like, no, I'm not going to kill my baby. I was so obnoxious. I'd be sitting there eating. I'd be like, I don't think the baby likes this. Like, that was so obnoxious. You know, my baby. This is like before I was even showing. Yeah, you know, my baby, I don't think she likes this. I don't think she likes that. But like, yeah, I think having the biggest risk, because to listen to everyone I knew outside of my parents, having a kid was supposed to be like the end. You know, like, okay, you're just done. But I mean, it was a not dumb decision, but it was a decision you can only make in your youth, when you don't really fully contemplate what's going to happen. You just look at everything like, yeah, I can do it. But it was the best decision I made. She literally, yeah, it was the best decision.
So a young Black woman, well-educated, an attorney, worked for some of the biggest corporate. You are now moving towards getting to the creative world.
Yeah.
Okay. And pretty much that will eventually change your life. Not only that, but your daughter had at the age of 19.
Yeah.
Okay. But you've been able to overcome all of that. That's quite impressive. And having a law degree and all that. Now you're about to change your life completely. What in your life intimidates you, or that you're afraid of moving forward?
Moving forward, just that I'm a mother, so I still worry. I want to make sure my daughter is 100% happy. That intimidates me. That's what keeps me up at night. The fact that this world can be a cold place, and I don't want her to experience it. I know she has to, you know, but I just want her to experience enough of it so that she grows, but not enough that it breaks her.
Okay, so your daughter is of age, or almost of age, where she'll soon either be dating, a guy or a girl, for that matter.
Okay.
What are your thoughts? How does that, sit with you?
About her dating?
Yeah.
I mean, I want her to date someone that's like worthy of her. I want what every parent wants. I want her to date somebody that's worthy of her, that treasures her, that respects her, you know, and I want her to demand that.
Okay.
I want her to love herself. And I think when she starts dating, she's 20 now, but she's been slow with dating. But I think that's when you see, like, as a parent, how well you've done, whether they love themselves or not. So we'll see.
Interesting. So it wouldn't matter if she decides to date a woman or a guy.
I mean, as a mom, I want her to date a guy, but only because society's ignorant, and I've seen ignorant people. So I want her to have the easy experience. But if she dated a woman, I wouldn't care. It'd be harder for her. So that's what I would worry about. Like, why would you? But I wouldn't care whether she dated. I mean, I want her to be loved and respected and treasured. You know, my parents have that, and I want her to have that too, whether it's a man or a woman.
Okay.
Yeah.
We've all been betrayed in some point of our lives. What kind of moment would you recount having been betrayed?
Like when I was cheated on?
I mean,
Funny story.
okay.
So when I was cheated on, I was on and off again with, of course, one of my exes. And we were on and off again, and we happened to be off, but we were still on. You know what I'm saying? And he like started talking to this girl. And I was so betrayed, because I was like, how dare you move on and be happy before I'm happy? Plus, we were still messing around. So I remember she was new to town, and he helped her move in. And I was like, oh, really? And I got all my friends to befriend her, including me, because I was like, she's new, this and that. And we all befriended her. And I would text my friends in the morning, like, have you texted her? Have you said good morning? Have you said this and that? And they were just like, you were insane. But I made sure everybody did it. And at the end of it, she ended up breaking up with him, because you saw what trash he was, you know? So, and I remember that feeling of gratification when he called me, when he was like, he called me so mad. And I was like, I remember being like, what's the matter? What's the matter? You're mad I stole your girl? You're mad I stole your girl and I'm not even gay? What's wrong? What's wrong? Yeah, that was a good feeling. But yeah, don't be wrong. People have cheated, but because like I have 4 brothers and my dad, I usually leave pretty quickly because like I'm the type of person, if you cheat on me, it's like I'll never trust you again. I know some people can rebuild that trust, but it's like, no, I'll just be waiting for you to go to sleep so I can smother you, you know? So yeah.
What is one thing that you've done in your life, biggest, that you've been so proud of till date?
My daughter.
Okay. Interesting.
I created someone I didn't think was possible.
All right. All right. So if there's 3 advice that you will give any younger generation that's coming up to be like you, we've had a lot of younger women who have their babies at their prime, or much younger, and struggling or trying to be where you stand right now. What are the 3 most important advices that you give?
Be greedy. Be greedy. Think that everything in this world is yours. Like with my daughter, I teach her that. I feel like society teaches women to shrink back. Be greedy. Everything's yours for the taking. I would tell her to be strong because there's a lot of people that'll try to tell you that it's not yours, but be strong and be greedy. And like also I let them know that like, I don't know, what my dad always told me, everything will be all right in the end. And if it's not all right, then it's not the end. So don't worry about it. But just take everything that's yours and never stop taking. So yeah, that's all.
Is that 3 or 2?
It's be greedy, right? Be confident in your greediness,
Confidence.
right? And also, everything's going to be all right in the end.
Oh.
And if it's not all right, then it's not the end. So what are you worried about?
I wasn't count. All right. This is amazing. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.